Welcome to another edition of a week of mass shootings. There were 14 mass shootings last week from March 25th through March 31st, with 8 occurring on Easter Sunday, making it the deadliest Easter Sunday as far as mass shootings go in American history, with Easter Sunday of 2022 being the second Easter with the most mass shootings when it reported 7. On March 25th, in Pompano Beach, Florida, 1 was killed and 3 were injured, and this is the first one for Pompano Beach this year. The victims were all aged between 16 and 31, and they were all males. 16-year-old John Zatrine was the one that was killed, and this is gang involvement, and it happened on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. On March 28th in Houston, Texas, 1 was killed and 3 injured, and this is the third one for Houston this year. 3 males were injured and 1 female was killed when an argument between 2 families escalated to gunfire. On March 29th in Detroit, Michigan, 5 were injured. This is the first one for Detroit this year. Happened at the Chicago Blues Bar and Grill. The victims were all aged 33 to 49, and this one happened because there was a fight over a parking spot. On March 29th in Mobile, Alabama, 1 was killed and 4 were injured. This is the first one for Mobile, Alabama. This was a house party that was listed as gang involvement. And basically, the suspects came to the residence and opened fire in the backyard of the home. March 30th in Bridgeport, Connecticut, 2 were killed and 2 injured, and the first one for Bridgeport this year. 3 males and 1 female were the victims. They were aged between 20 and 34. Happened around 11:15 p.m. in the East End area of Bridgeport. On March 30th in Indianapolis, Indiana, 7 were injured in the 4th mass shooting for Indianapolis. Happened at the Circle Center Mall. All the victims were aged between 12 and 17 years old. Happened after 11 p.m. And this was just described as an ongoing beef between people. On March 31st in Chicago, 1 was killed and 4 injured. And this was the 4th one for Chicago this year. It happened at Poppy's Chat Room. All the victims were female, aged 16 to 19 years old. Happened at 1 a.m. and basically someone entered the business and opened fire. And this happened in Chicago's West Side. And you can ask yourself why all these females, the 16 to 19 years old, were out at 1 a.m. March 31st, Nashville, Tennessee, 1 was killed and 4 injured in the first one for Nashville this year. The suspect was arrested. That's Anton Rucker. And Alan Beecham was the one that was killed. And basically, this Rucker dude opened fire at Roasted, which is a restaurant, during Sunday brunch. March 31st in Jackson, Mississippi, 1 was killed and 3 injured. And this is the first one for Jackson this year, first of 2 on Easter Sunday. Happened at the Jasco convenience store at 5 a.m., and the shooting was recorded on surveillance video, but they haven't caught the shooter yet. Then also on March 31st in Jackson, 4 were injured. This is the second one. They had 2 the same day. It happened on MLK Drive. The victims were aged 8 to 43 years old. The suspect was a female, Zykia Winford, and it happened at a birthday party. This is the third one that I'm aware of of the mass shootings. We've had 98 mass shootings this year. This is the third one that I'm aware of that was committed by a female. Often you don't get the information right away, and I don't follow up on a lot of these. But as far as the ones, the mass shootings that had immediate arrests or arrests within a few days after, this is the third one that had a female suspect. And that's not very common, but it's becoming more and more common. Also on March 31st in Dublin, Georgia, 2 were killed and 5 injured in the first one for Dublin this year. 23-year-old Maori Ellington and 24-year-old Sacred Brown were the ones that were killed. This was a drive-by, happened at 2 a.m. Also on March 31st in Chicago, this is the second one for Chicago on this same day. Just like Jackson, it had 2 on the same day. 1 was killed and 3 injured, and this is the 5th one for Chicago this year. 16-year-old John Veer Wynn McKeeler was killed. The victims were all aged 16 to 25. They were all male. It happened in the Austin neighborhood around 2:50 in the afternoon. And basically, these four males were on the street. They were in a group of people, and 2 people got out of a car and shot at them. and no one is in custody on that one. Also on March 31st in St. Petersburg, Florida, 4 were injured in the first one for St. Petersburg this year. Happened at Sonic Sports Bar and Grill. 3 males and 1 female were the victims. It happened at 11 p.m. and a group got into an argument that led to a shooting outside the restaurant. And the last one on March 31st happened in Paris, Texas, where 4 were injured. Again, this is the first one for Paris this year, and this was an argument at a large block party at around 2 a.m. And they said in this one there were 80 shell casings found. And you can see on these how many of them are just over stupid stuff, like arguments that, 50 years ago, maybe they'd have gotten in a fist fight, or maybe the people would have just left and went on their way. But now all these little arguments turn into big shootouts. So we've had 98 total this year, and 9 of these 14 were reporting their first ones this year. This is a weekly video, so if you like this type of content, hit that like button, leave your thoughts in the comments, and consider subscribing. And I'll catch you next week.